I am my mother's lawyer." The words echoed through the courtroom like thunder. David Thompson was only 9 years old, but his voice cut through the formal silence with absolute clarity. He stood next to his mother, Janet, while across the room, Robert Wellington III, his biological father, almost choked on his coffee. "I'm sorry, young man, but this is a legal hearing between adults," Judge Harrison said with forced patience. "I know, Your Honor. I also know that according to Article 12 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, I have the right to express my opinion on matters that directly affect me." David adjusted his glasses and opened a scribbled school notebook. "And this case definitely affects me." Robert Wellington, a Chicago real estate mogul wearing a suit that cost more than Janet earned in 6 months, looked at his expensive lawyers in disbelief. No one had prepared them to face a child quoting international law. Janet Thompson worked 60 hours a week as a nursing assistant to raise David alone. In the 8 years since Robert discovered he was a father, he had appeared in David's life exactly 4 times, always with expensive gifts and empty promises. Now he suddenly wanted full custody. "Your Honor," Robert's lead attorney interjected, "this is highly irregular. The child has no legal capacity. And if you really cared about my well-being, you would want to hear what I have to say rather than trying to silence me," David interrupted calmly. "I have prepared a documented presentation on why I should remain with my mother, including evidence of the petitioner's true motives." Robert's face paled visibly. What had this boy discovered? "Then why didn't you provide legal representation for him?" David asked when the attorney dismissed his capacity. "In 8 months of this case, no one thought it important to hear the opinion of the person most affected by this decision." For weeks, David had been coming home with legal codes and children's rights manuals from the library. Janet thought it was academic curiosity. She never imagined he was preparing for battle. "My client is genuinely concerned about his son's welfare." Drive. Mitchell continued. "Ms. Thompson simply does not have the resources to provide the opportunities a gifted child like David deserves." "Interesting," David muttered. "Genuine concern." He flipped through his notebook. "May I share some facts about this genuine concern, Your Honor?" "What lawyers, Mom?" David said softly when Janet tried to stop him. "We can't afford to hire them. So either I speak for us, or no one speaks." "David." "Son," Robert began. "Don't call me son." The coldness in his voice made several adults shiver. "In 9 years, you've shown up exactly 4 times. 2 birthdays, always 3 weeks late. 1 Christmas when you had 20 minutes between social engagements. And once when the local press did a story on philanthropic entrepreneurs and you needed a photo with a child." The silence was deafening. "The last time we met, you spent 15 minutes in our apartment, just long enough to criticize our furniture and suggest I might have potential if I received a proper education. 2 weeks later, you filed for custody." David paused. "I've done some research on my biological father. You recently lost a $2.3 million lawsuit. Your third wife filed for divorce. And I discovered something very interesting about a trust fund established by my late paternal grandmother." Robert Wellington's face went white. "For 3 months, I've devoted every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon to researching at the Central Public Library," David explained. "Public records, newspaper archives, your previous court cases. The head librarian taught me how to access legal databases. This is ridiculous." Robert exploded. "A 9-year-old digging into my private life." "Public information, sir," David corrected. "All perfectly legal and accessible to any American citizen, regardless of age." He continued methodically. "My grandmother Eleanor Wellington established a trust fund of $1.7 million for me, accessible only when I turn 18 or when my biological father obtains full legal custody. For 7 years, you never mentioned my existence to her. But when she discovered me through private investigation, she set up the fund with one specific condition." David paused dramatically. "The money would be released for my care only if you demonstrated genuine commitment by obtaining legal custody. Otherwise, it goes directly to me at 18 with no parental access." The math was brutal. Robert had ignored David for 9 years. Now broke and desperate, he was forcing late custody to access the funds. "But there's something my grandmother couldn't foresee," David said, pulling out a manila folder. "She didn't know you'd develop a career ruining small family businesses through predatory practices. I have copies of 17 lawsuits where Wellington Industries purchased properties from distressed families for well below market value using insider bank information. Judge Harrison's expression grew increasingly serious as he examined the documents. About education, David said, opening his final section. I'd like to share your true educational plans for me. He pulled out a small digital recorder. This was made during your last visit 6 months ago. You thought I was doing homework, but the recorder was in the living room. The recording played Robert's unmistakable voice. As soon as I get legal custody, the boy goes straight to Riverside Military Academy. Strict boarding school in Colorado. He'll stay there until 18, and I'll have full access to the inheritance funds. $500 a month for boarding, the rest is mine. The kid doesn't even have to know about the money. Janet covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. There's more, David said, playing the second part. The boy is too smart for his own good. He asks questions, observes everything. Best to keep him out of the picture until 18. Kids like him, we don't want him getting any ideas above his station. Robert exploded. This is a trap. A 9-year-old can't. Can't what? David interrupted. Can't be smart. Can't defend himself. Can't expose a father who sees him as a problem to be solved. Your Honor, David continued, Riverside Military Academy has had 3 student suicides in 5 years. It's under federal investigation for abuse of minors. Robert lost control completely. You're nothing but an arrogant child who doesn't know his place. And you're a stranger who shares my DNA, David replied with chilling calm. A real father wouldn't try to get rid of his son to steal his money. There's one last thing, David said, turning to his final page. I found a letter from my grandmother in the estate files, addressed to me. She wrote that she knew you were never a good father. She established the trust to protect me from you. If you ever tried to get custody just for money, I should use every resource to defend myself. She even hired private investigators who documented all your financial schemes. It's all on file. Robert slumped in his chair, completely defeated. Judge Harrison banged his gavel. Based on all evidence presented, the custody request is categorically denied. Furthermore, I order a full investigation into possible fraudulent use of trust funds. As security escorted Robert away, David made one final statement. I didn't do this out of anger or revenge. I did it because every child deserves a family that truly loves them, not one that sees them as a financial opportunity. In that courtroom, a 9-year-old child proved that intelligence, preparation, and true love can defeat any amount of money and privilege. He had won not just a custody battle, but started a transformation that would inspire millions of children to use their voices and fight for justice.